Hello and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 155. Jon and Wendy had a guest that had to reschedule again. I'm your host, Jon.
And I'm Wendy. How you doing, Jon?
Wendy, I am well and excited that this episode is being sponsored by our friends over at Humoriso. So we definitely appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
You know, Wendy, we've had this happen a few times over the last few years, but you run into scheduling changes, and January unfortunately was real challenging for us. A lot of stuff going on, and so we've been kind of recording in real time, for lack of a better word, and so anyhow, somebody had to reschedule. That's okay, because I get to talk to you because we haven't done this in a couple months.
Well, not just catching up. We did our 149 and, thanked people and went through all of that. But we really don't get a chance to chat. So it's nice to get a chance to catch up and share that,
Absolutely. And, it's incredibly hard to believe. So we are recording this the weekend of the third anniversary of episode 0 releasing. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I can't believe that. I think we're at the point where it feels like we've always done it and we just started all at the same time. Hard to remember what it was like, what life was like before the podcast.
I think our families would probably say that too.
Yeah, probably. But it's a challenge. It's work. But for the most part, it's all worthwhile. So
I was trying to think back. I don't know about you. I can't remember those early sessions. We have talked about it. I'm glad that we have at least the recordings of us talking a bit about the fact that we practiced. If you remember, we got on, and I remember telling some people that we did that, and they were shocked. They're like, I've never heard of anybody doing that. And I said, well, we just want to get comfortable. We need to get our patterns down and really understand what we're doing. And we didn't want to have somebody on with us when we were fumbling. That would have been bad.
No, it's true. And, I was talking about it at work because, internal podcast, and I did episode 0 by myself, and I'm not used to talking to myself. So I did a couple of rounds before I was like, okay, that's good. That's fine. I don't have to do a whole ton of editing to make it flow, which is what I wanted. I didn't want it to be choppy and not feel like it was just being done. So practice is practice. We're not going to get better without it. We're not going to get better without continuing to do it. And I think we would have had a lot more stumbles in the beginning had we not.
Oh, I know we would have had stumbles. I think there's no doubt about that. Yeah. It is funny though, like you said, it seems like forever and it seems like yesterday, but I really don't. Just like when my kids were babies and I don't remember holding babies. I don't remember those early sessions. I don't remember getting on Skype. Remember when we used Skype?
I remember Skype. I do remember Skype. I have those burned in my memory of trying to find people, trying to, dig through usernames, trying to get into figure out where they were. So I don't miss Skype. I'll be honest with that.
I still record another podcast on Skype even after all these years. So it is crazy. And I think, like you said, I think it's great for us to be able to catch up and talk to each other. I think this is, I when I mentioned to you kind of what I wanted to at least have a bit of a conversation about, I'm calling it the state of the podcast because I don't know what else to call it. That sounded good to me.
I think that fits. I think that fits. And I like what you put together for this show. And, it's time. It is, we've been doing it for 3 years, so it's time for a state of the podcast. And how are we doing? Where do we want to go? Where should we go?
I've been thinking a lot about this over particularly the last couple months, and 3 years is a long time for anything. Mm-hmm. And I want to be very clear that folks, as much as I joke on my other podcast about it's always our last episode, this is not our last episode. I want to be very clear. That's not what, remember, we have always said, if we do that, it literally will be you and me, and we'll get on and say, we're tired, we're done. That's it.
Yeah.
See you later. And that's going to be it. It'll be less than 3 minutes long. It'll be the shortest podcast probably the shortest podcast you ever listened to.
Yeah.
But 3 years is a long time for anything. And when you look at the catalog that we've been able to put together, Wendy, we have, as of this recording, we will have released 219 podcasts in that 3 years.
That is insane. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. When I saw the number, I knew it was around 200. Kudos to you. Thank you for keeping us in line and on track with all of that. 219 podcasts in 3 years is a lot, because if y'all are doing the math, that's more than one a week.
That's right. Obviously, so many things, and we've talked in our anniversary episodes or prelude to the big number episodes. We've talked about all the things that have gone on, and the not only the shows, this initial show starting, but then Wonder Women, and then all the sponsored opportunities that have come up, and special conference episodes, which we really miss conferences. So it's kind of a bummer not to do those. With those things changing, we found a lot of stuff to do last year.
We did.
That was not podcast related. We've talked a lot about those things, so we don't want to necessarily rehash that here, other than I think it is very fair to say, Wendy, that 2020 wore us out well beyond work, well beyond things going on with everybody in the world. And we certainly recognize there were a lot of people having much different challenges than what we had.
Yes.
However, I feel like we did so much to nurture the community at large. I realized in December and then into January, I was worn out. I was absolutely burnt.
Yeah. No, we gave up a lot of Sunday nights in a row. And, when you're the host, you can't just say I'm opting out tonight. You can't do that. So if we had something, we were both there, and that's a lot of time. And then to top on, we had the recordings, we had editing. It's a whole lot of work. And I was tired. I was tired at the end of 2020, and as much fun as the trivia nights were, I honestly wasn't sad to see them go.
I think it was great for the time, and I think we are going to continue to look at things, and that's kind of where we're headed now. And I think when we started talking about the new questions for the Question Connection, when you brought up that question about balance, I thought it was a great question, and I was excited to hear how people would answer it, because I was waiting for the person to say with 2 feet or on a beam.
It's coming.
The more I've thought about it, what does it mean for us? And not as the Question Connection.
Right.
As we try to find balance, though, because let's face it, it continues to make me laugh that I talk to people that say, you have a day job and this?
Right.
Yeah. Wendy has a day job and does this.
Mm-hmm.
We have elected to do these things outside of our day jobs. We've found a lot of enjoyment out of them and very appreciative of the opportunities they have presented. I think, though, like we said, in 2020, as we start looking back and going, okay, we can't do this in 2021. You and I have talked about that offline. What does that mean? And so we just wanted to talk briefly about some of the things that you are probably going to see changing with the show as we go on. Like I said a few minutes ago, for those of you that sometimes speed ahead, which I don't know why you would, but if you did miss what we said, this is not the last episode. We're not wrapping things up.
Not the end.
However, we're going to make some changes that we feel are beneficial for us. I think, though, it's really an opportunity for listeners and for the community as well.
Definitely. We've like we said, we've been doing this for 3 years, multiple episodes per week. It's time to pivot. It's time to move to what's next. And I think that's just part of life, is what comes next.
Let's talk about in the immediate then with the Thursday episodes. And for those of you who've been listening for a long time, Thursday episodes have always been the numbered shows that are Jon and Wendy talk to somebody.
Yep.
I think that's been the case since the beginning. And,
pretty much, yeah.
What we have decided is that because we were putting out those, and then as Monday episodes or Friday episodes or whatever they may be, you may start to see some of those special episodes become numbered episodes on Thursdays. We may not have just one person. It may be a panel. It may be a sponsor episode. Not to say you won't get extra episodes in a month. However, don't be surprised if you just see things on Thursdays for a while as we try to find that balance and do what makes the most sense for us.
And we've talked about that in the past too. Where do we put some of those special episodes? And so, I think you'll all stick with us, even without extra. We're extra enough, John, I think.
That's right. Well, you are totally extra enough. We've talked about, and we are continuing to look at other things like the videos and what have you. And again, I think it's an opportunity, instead of doing those as something separate, really combining them in, because it's more and more stuff to have to put together.
Right.
Most of you are aware. We will say it again for the record. We do all the production on the HR Social Hour.
Yep.
It's Wendy or it's me. That's it. And for those of you that have any experience with this stuff, it's extremely time consuming. We say if a show is a half hour long, it really takes an hour to edit. We're going to probably take longer than that because we want it to be as great as it can be.
And video adds another element to that.
Well, you've been kind enough to do the video stuff. I haven't even touched it yet. And I think it's also very surprising when I talk to people and they're not aware of the fact that we do everything.
Do it all.
We are our own marketing people. We do all the bookings. We do everything is one of us doing it. And that's the way it's been now since episode 6, when my son left as the editor. And then the bit of time that we had some support on Wonder Woman. Other than that, it's us, and we want to try to figure out the balance. And so expect some changes there, I think, for the better.
Oh, for sure.
Wendy, do you want to talk a little bit about Wonder Woman and kind of where you are there with Anne?
2020 was rough for both of us, and lots of work stuff and personal stuff. So we're committed to continuing Wonder Woman, but probably not at the same frequency. Probably maybe every other month, maybe once a quarter. We still want to get those voices out there. We still want to connect with them. There's no reason why we can't have some of those awesome women just on the HR Social Hour and adding them to the slate of candidates that you and I talk to. I'm excited to continue Wonder Women and inviting more HR Wonder Women to the show. But just know some of them might be with John and me, and some of them might be at actual HR Wonder Women in quotations.
I love that you called potential guest slate of candidates. Boy, wow. I don't even know if you caught that. You said the slate of candidates. Oh, whoa.
I've been diving deep in talent acquisition stuff this last week. So
apparently,
sorry. Work comes into play every once in a while.
Well, as we talk about guests, I think it is interesting to note, beyond some of the folks that you've been talking to for Wonder Woman, I think it is fair to say, Wendy, that when we started, and again, we've told the story before, we figured we'd do 50 episodes. It would just be the people we knew in the chat. Obviously, It's gone well beyond that. We've met hundreds of people in the last 3 years.
Yes, we have.
And not all those folks have been on this show, but we have met hundreds through connections through the show, through the community, through chats, through conferences. One of the things that's really resonated with me of late is that many of those folks are not in our business. They are not HR professionals. I think, though, that they would bring value to our conversations, and I think more people should know them.
I agree with that. We've seen some really awesome speakers, awesome vendors, just folks that they might not want to be someone who's interviewed, but there's some great people we've worked with that I would love to have on the show and talk a little bit more about just how they support the employee experience, because that's really where a lot of what we do comes into play.
I think between employee experience and what we've seen, particularly out of the UK with Be the Ripple and the kindness movement, I think you and I have found things that have resonated with us that I truly believe would resonate with our listeners. I'm going to go back and I'm going to reiterate, if you have never listened to our episode with Miss Val,
go.
I think that, to me, that is the most criminally underrated episode we've done. And it's because people don't know her in our community. She was absolutely phenomenal. And I wish more people would hear her and hear what her story is, because I think it is very powerful. She's not in HR, but she can share insights and advice that you can certainly apply to what you do, or in your personal life, whatever it may be. I would say, though, I guess we're kind of letting you know, though, that expect to start seeing guests from outside our space, because it's people that interest us. And as we've always said, it's cool people we meet that we want to introduce to cool people. Guess what, folks? There are actually cool people outside HR.
There's a lot.
A lot of them. And so we are going to start incorporating those folks into our community where it makes sense and where we want to do it because we can.
Right. It's our show. We get to talk to who we want to talk to.
Let's talk briefly about chats, because I will say, when it's fair to say, chats they're not going anywhere either. No. And it is really hard to believe. I just spoke to a podcast group last week and was talking to them about some internal podcast stuff. And I mentioned that this show started as a Twitter chat, and that provider had never heard of that, which I think is one of our calling cards in the out there. So that the chat's not going anywhere. This show comes out on Thursday, this coming Sunday. It's not only Valentine's Day. It is our latest chat with our pal, Steve Brown.
I'm excited. We put out the call for people to, hey, give us some ideas. We want to have chats. We want to host them. We'll help host, but we need ideas. We need you to step up and help. We actually had quite a few people answer that call. Steve was one of the first, so he gets to be first. And I know Claire Petrie raised her hand. Melanie Hellman raised her hand. Y'all, if you have a topic you want to talk about, let us know, and we'll help you with questions. We really just ask that you help promote it and you show up, help host, pass around the hors d'oeuvres.
Well, our conversation with Steve this week is going to be all about loving social media, embracing social media as part of what you do. And as you said, it's certainly key in our growth. What we've done meeting at all is through NextChat and starting, establishing a relationship there. I'm very proud of the fact that we have developed those relationships. And I was telling someone the other day, I was really pleased to see a lot of new people continuing to come to chats.
Yeah, it's
folks aren't leaving. They just kind of keep coming back. And so I'm glad they're finding something there. Steve always brings a crowd. So we certainly hope that you will all be there. Want to make sure that you stay around till the end of that chat. We have a really big announcement regarding the chat on February 28th. So 2 weeks later, we're not going to tell anything here. We're going to be talking more about it. It's part of a bigger event that we're putting together. We're really, really excited about it.
It's be awesome.
And we can't wait to share. So it'll all come to light during the chat on Saturday or Sunday the 14th.
Yep.
But plan to be there the 14th. Be ready for the 28th as part of an event that's going to be going on most of that week, and some good stuff going on there. Like Wendy said, if you have a topic and you are maybe you never thought you'd co-host a Twitter chat, because did we think we'd ever co-host a Twitter chat?
No.
Years ago?
No. No, that was not, and it was all, kind of happenstance that we decided to jump into hosting a Twitter chat anyway. FOMO's real, y'all. And it was awesome. And honestly, we'll probably give up the podcast before we give up the chat.
The chat runs just in a very different way.
It does.
So I don't think it's certainly there no changes there other than continue to take part. And we're going to stick to the second and fourth and keep at it.
And two, if you miss that night, feel free to check the hashtag later in the week and jump into the conversation. No one's going to look at you weird because you're finding an old hashtag or an old comment. We want to know. And I usually don't do the summary until the next day. So our friends in India, our friends around the world have a chance to comment and jump into the conversation, because we want to know what you're saying too.
Don't be surprised if you don't necessarily get a response immediately. I will say that.
Well, hey, we're all in different time zones.
But I know sometimes I get them on Monday morning, and I unfortunately may not have time to respond or retweet like I typically would. So I don't want anybody to feel slighted if we don't necessarily get to them immediately with it. Wendy, we talked about events, and that while we are not going to necessarily have the volume of events that we did last year, we have talked a bit about some things that we would like to consider. We have put it out on our Twitter page, and I think that makes it a little more solid that we are a little, well, at least that we're considering it. You've been part of HR Fit Club for a while, and I love seeing that conversation going on, particularly on Twitter. All of us in the pandemic have dealt with exercise and trying to be healthy in different ways. we thought a lot about putting together a virtual 5K.
Yeah.
We've done research, but research is only all well and good. We don't want to do it if people don't want to take part.
Right. Yeah. It's no fun if people aren't doing it. We did it at my office last summer. We had a lot of fun with it. I think they've even asked to do it again, but it's -11 right now. So I'm not thinking about being outside.
We're not doing something on February 15th.
Yeah, we're not doing it now. I think there's a lot of camaraderie that can come out of those types of events. So we would love to get your input. If you know of somebody who's interested in sponsoring, I think that would be awesome to get a sponsor for it. And, maybe even do some fundraising for a charity.
Many of you are aware that when we took part in HR Florida a couple years ago, we actually took part in the 5K. We had a team. And it was funny because basically it was those of us that signed up for it, but then we basically got everybody that was from out of town, got put on our team. I think we ended up either 6th or 7th out of 20-odd teams in terms of fundraising. We were up there, which was a real we are so appreciative of everybody that took part in that, because that was something we felt like we could give back there. Well, I see all these different 5K virtual 5Ks going on. And it would be something different. And we just want to make sure, though, before we get too far down the road, is there enough interest in it? So if you see the tweet, you can vote for it. You can shoot us an email. Just let us know that it would be something you would at least like to know more about. Because basically we've said yes, no, or I need to know more. Yeah. We all need to know more. We're not there. It's not like we've got this. We are not ready to pull the trigger next week. But it's something that we've kicked around that would be different and we think would be beneficial for those that took part.
I think it would be fun.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back. Humoriso, an award-winning HR outsourcing consultancy, invites businesses of all sizes to its successful strategies to manage talent, recruit for skills gaps based on employee inventories, assess markets for growth, develop long-range succession plans, and influence a culture of enthusiastic buy-in. Through its flagship HRO plan, Humoriso helps businesses save money, increase productivity, and reduce legal risks by providing dedicated HR consulting for training and development, recruitment, HR technology, and strategic engagement. Learn more at www.humoriso.com or call 844-HUMORISO. That's 844-HUMARESO. Thanks again to Humoriso for sponsoring the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast. Now, back to the show.
And we are back. Jon, as we come back from our break, and hey, huge shout out to Humoriso. Thank you for sponsoring February. Lots of love to you guys. Let's chat a little bit about what else is going on. I think one of the bigger things is there's a new social media platform out there, Clubhouse.
There is, and I don't have an iPhone. I can't take part, at least for the time being. I am always fascinated when we see new platforms come around. It's very interesting to see how many people we know that have gotten engaged in it. Mm-hmm. I will say thank you personally to those that out of our last Twitter chat basically said, hey, those of us that are taking part would love to help. Those of you that are interested in it, that have access to it, come on board and we'll help you out. Really kind of creating a social hour room, I guess is what you call them, because it's a hootenanny that I don't get yet. I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I know, Wendy, you've taken part in a few events so far.
I have. I've jumped on. It's interesting because you can set up the notifications. So if you have the notification set up, it's really easy to enter a room accidentally, which has happened to me a couple of times based on who I'm following. I will admit I'm not 100% there in understanding how everything works. Some good friends of ours, Francisco, Nikki, Laura Mazzullo, are on and very active and seem to be really loving it and getting a lot out of it. It's live conversations that people are having. People can come in and just listen. People can come in and participate. So it's almost like a roundtable discussion. So I love that you can, again, it's just like social media and you can chat with people all around the world at any point in time. It'd be interesting to see where it goes, especially once it gets to the other devices. I think that will really determine how far Clubhouse can go in this whole thing. And I still have a ton of invites because I'm not sure how to invite people.
Well, you can't invite me because I don't have the equipment for
I can't
it.
invite you. So I have invites. So if somebody needs one, let me know, and we'll grab one of the people who knows Clubhouse much better and get you in.
We talk about platforms and Clubhouse and what have you. We always ask people who's somebody that you've met in the last year that you think more people should know. I've been really fortunate, Wendy, over the last many months. I've been taking part in a podcast mastermind called the Lean Communicators. For those of you who aren't aware, Lean is a business improvement methodology process. And a very dear friend of mine from college by the name of Mark Graben, he's been podcasting for 10 years, if you can believe that, Wendy. I think he has 4 podcasts right now. Just think the world of Mark. And Mark contacted me and said, hey, I'd love to have you as a experienced or veteran podcaster working with us and helping others understand kind of how you do what you do with HR Social Hour, because a lot of the people in the group are starting out. Some have not even launched their shows yet. Been really excited to take part in that. I'm going to share a link in the show notes to the Lean Communicators page. If you are looking for non-HR business content, particularly that what it has to do with process improvement, I hope you'll check out Lean Communicators and some of the shows that are there. Really great people, and they're doing great things in their space. And I don't be surprised if maybe some of those people show up on our podcast sooner than later. That's been really fun and a little different for sure, to be and nobody cracks on HR all the time, which is even better.
That's the usual. That's the usual for us. That's awesome. And yes, I cannot wait to meet some of these folks, because I think, there's so many different ways that we can take employee communications, and podcasting is one of them. And so learning more about it, talking with other folks is all good, bringing us all together. Love it.
It is hard to believe, Wendy, but that time, just like it's time of the year when Humoriso is sponsoring us, it's cookie season again. How's that possible?
I don't know, because I still have cookies left over from last year. That was because our cookie season did get cut short last year due to the pandemic. This year's going to be a challenge because we can't do traditional in-person sales like we could in the past, just due to the pandemic. So we are working on new and innovative ways. We are once again selling online, so we can take donations, or you can have cookies shipped to you or shipped to anybody, which is a really nice option. And it's just too bad that it took this long for the Girl Scouts and our vendors to be able to catch up with that. It's really been fun to see how the girls have grown and learned, and they're able to stand up and come up with some really fun ideas for getting out in front of customers without being in front of customers. So it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting year of cookie sales for sure. We'll
be sharing those, I'm sure, everywhere. Yep. We'll share those links and do what I do. Donate some cookies to local causes there in the Brookings area. I think last year it was to retirement community. I think, was that right? And
yep, we did some retirement communities, and you can also you have to select it when you're doing your donation. But if you can opt to have cookies sent to troops overseas. There's that other option. You will not hurt my feelings if you're supporting Girl Scouts in your local area. I do encourage that as well, because they need your support too. You see Girl Scouts, spend the $5, buy a box of cookies. It's not going to hurt anything.
We're into February. What do you have going on as far as, you got any stuff coming out beyond Social Hour? You got any speaking or things that you're got going?
There's been some interesting emails coming out lately, and not just the crazy people who want to just be on the podcast.
Oh, come now. That can't be right. Come on.
But actually, I got Recruitee out of Europe reached out to me, and I will be delivering a masterclass on candidate experience in May. So more information will be coming out on that, but really excited to partner with them. It will be a 2-hour session on May 27th, and we'll remind you in the future, but I'm really excited because it's an opportunity to take the webinar I did for ERE last December and expand on it and work with them to create some solid takeaways and maybe have some discussion rooms. But we'll have 2 hours to talk through some of the ideas that I shared there and hopefully get some real takeaways for people. So I'm excited about that. I think that will be a lot of fun. How about you?
A solid maybe. I am waiting to hear back from our pal, Christy Engler. She has approached me about working on something with her that I think would be a lot of fun. And we are waiting to hear back in terms of confirmation on it. Be in late April, a virtual event. More to come there. I'd love to say yes. We just don't know yet. We're not sure, but it's something that's out there. And if you are listening and are looking for us to take part in events, just shoot us a note. You know how to find us, and we'll reach out. We're always happy to talk about it.
Yep. Love it.
When we recorded 149, we didn't get to talk about movies, though. I've got to ask, because you've mentioned it briefly once for like a minute. How was Wonder Woman 84?
This is an unpopular opinion, but I enjoyed it. It was not as good as the first one. Put it out there, and there probably should have been a little more left on the cutting room floor. But I watched it more than once. So sometimes you watch a movie and you're so excited for the movie that you just enjoy it because you just have that general excitement going. I wanted to make sure it wasn't that, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked the characters. I loved Kristen Wiig. I'm not all into the Wonder Woman lore, so I don't know all of the bad guys. But I thought Kristen Wiig did a really great job. She was believable in her character, in the role that she took, going from mousy, understated character into her transformation into Cheetah. I thought was pretty cool. And I love Gal. It could have been better. I'll say that. It could have been better. But I thought it was fun. Rocky thought it was fun. Maggie thought it was fun. It was great. And we go in with pretty low expectations to DC movies.
I think that's most of us have that. I have not seen it yet because I don't have HBO Max. I look forward to seeing it sometime sooner than later. It was not on the radar because I don't have the platform.
And Linda Carter. Linda Carter's in it.
Oh, that's cool.
Linda Carter's in it. Yeah. It's short, but it was good. I liked it.
Cool. I have not watched a movie and I don't remember how long. I really have. I either watch TV, like something on a platform, or YouTube. I'm not. Yeah. I haven't sat down and watched a movie. I honestly cannot remember.
That would have been the first one since before the pandemic. All the other movies that we've watched have in the last year had been out for a while. I don't know that there was anything new that we watched. So how about any new, I don't commute anymore, John, so I don't have a lot of listening time. So what music podcasts do I need to find some time for? Let's
talk about music very quickly, because I don't listen to a lot of music anymore because I'm listening to so many podcasts. However, somehow I guess it popped up on YouTube. I'm not sure what. Weezer, who I was a big fan of Weezer with the Blue album in 1994, right? Or 95. That first album is amazing. And then I kind of lost them. Like, I don't know. Just, I went to...
They kind of fell off radar a little bit.
I went to graduate school and got into Ben Folds and then lost them. Pinkerton, their second album, is apparently like this magnum opus that I've heard it, but it's just not my thing. And I've heard their radio hits over the years. But they have a new album out called OK Human that is unbelievable. It is just beautiful because it is a back to basics, basically piano and strings. It's not, and it's like 70s pop tunes. I really, really like it. And it's funny because they recorded it prior to a metal album that they did called Van Weezer, which Van Weezer was supposed to come out last year, and they were going to tour on Van Weezer. And then, of course, pandemic. So they kind of flipped back and they went back to this OK Human. If this tells you anything, I texted Steve Brown to tell him how great I thought the album was. He's our music friend. He knows. He listens to everything. But the OK Human, if you can go on YouTube or all your platforms, Spotify, whatever. If you like that Weezer sound, because I like River Cuomo's voice, and I can hear stuff from the Blue album from 25 years ago. I cannot believe that album is that old. But that is in this thing. I recommend it.
I'll have to find them. We are semi Weezer fans here because they are on the Frozen 2 soundtrack. They sing the Kristoff 80s love ballad, which is a lot of fun. So I'll have to check that one out. Yeah.
I have a podcast recommendation too, and believe it or not, it's HR related, which there are so many people
Hey, competition.
No, not at all. Are you kidding? No competition.
I'm kidding. There's no such
Not
thing.
on our side of the fence do we believe in competition in
No.
this, because everybody's
No.
doing something different.
Plenty of room.
Chris Taylor, who's over in the UK, has started a podcast called Oven Ready HR, which I think the title itself is phenomenal. And the concept, or what he is doing, is he is really talking about HR topics, targeting them towards small business owners and small businesses
Oh,
to demystify
very cool.
what we do. He's had Dave Ulrich, like in the first 4 episodes, he had somebody of Dave's stature. He's got an episode with Steve Brown coming very soon. I actually had a chance to talk to Chris and spend a few minutes with him. Really enjoyed our conversation. Look for him to probably be on our show later in the spring. I really like what Chris is doing because it is different. Yeah, if you're particularly if you want to hear a different angle on what's going on, because I asked him, I said, "What did everybody deal with last year?" He just said COVID, which but you know, it's always interesting to hear how other areas of the world are dealing with things. So yeah, Oven Ready HR, it's available. I think on all the platforms. I found it pretty quickly. Yeah, Chris Taylor, really enjoy what he's doing, and hopefully we'll see. He'll continue. He's going to do seasons. He's already planned his out, but he's got 12 episodes in the first block, and then he'll take a break and then come back with more. So I think he's got 5 or 6 out at this point. And I don't mean to slight anybody else. That was a show that was recommended to us. I did listen to it, and I had a chance to talk to Chris. I've had several people contact me of late that are starting soon. Hear those shows. If you have a show or like to talk to us about checking it out, you know where to find us. Send it our way.
I'll give a plug to Jay Palacki. She's got a new one out.
Yes.
I was guest on it. My show should be out late March, I think she said. She's got some good stuff out there talking a lot of HR tech. She does have a lightning round, which I love.
And that is under the HR Bytes umbrella, right?
Yes, HR Bytes, BYTES.
We will have links to both those shows in the notes. Glad you mentioned Jay's show. I know it was out. I had not listened to it yet. Jay, I'm sorry. I know you. In fact, Jay was very sweet to say this was her favorite show. She said that on LinkedIn, so you know it's true. I really do appreciate her saying that, but definitely check it out. I mentioned, Wendy, that I hadn't watched any movies. I've primarily been watching series or YouTube. TV-wise, I have not started WandaVision yet, if you can believe that.
I was a little surprised when you said that.
You have, and what do you think? Without spoiling it too much, I'll forget because I'm going to watch it all at once.
So good. Now, you do have to get through the first 2 episodes. But if you come at it from I'm watching Wanda and Vision do Dick Van Dyke, I'm watching Wanda and Vision do Bewitched, that made it fun for me because that's very nostalgic. And so they're hitting those notes. My husband and daughter, Rocky and Maggie, have already decided there needs to be yet another spinoff. Jimmy Woo and Darcy need their own show. I'm just going to say that when you get to that point in the show. However, I would, there might be value in waiting and watching it all at once. Remember like when we were younger, a few years ago before binge watching and you had to wait every week, there's something fun with that. But there's also, on Friday, I was still working and Rocky and Maggie were watching it downstairs. And I'm like, I can't believe you watched it without me. Like, well, we can watch it again. I'm like, I know, but there's something about watching it together for the first time and going, oh my God.
I was told this might be one that makes more sense to watch in chunks in that you can. So if early on, it's not like it was a slog or maybe a challenge for some. I have to tell you all my weird connections to that show. I've got them. My friend Tom King, who killed me in Batman, Tom wrote a Vision series that apparently a lot of the material is based on. Now, he's not talked a lot about it. Interestingly enough, Tom grew up in California right across the street from Randall Park. And his older brother was really good friends with Randall Park. So that's kind of crazy that he wrote source material that now this guy's playing in the show. Craziest connection in all this. The director, at least of some of the episodes, is Matt Shackman. Matt Shackman was on, if you remember, there was a show he was on called Just the 10 of Us, which was the spinoff of Growing Pains. He was the little boy.
Yep.
He was the one son that the coach had and all the girls in the house. Matt Shackman and I went to camp together in 1990. So this was after he'd been on television. I went to the music component of the camp. He went to the theater part of the camp. But I'll never forget, we're at lunch one day, and these theater kids are all, one kid just stands up and points at him and goes, oh my God, it's Matt Shackman from Just the 10 of Us. Like, put him on blast. It was so funny. Kids, if you don't know Just the 10 of Us or Growing Pains, look it up. But yeah, so the director of WandaVision was somebody I went to camp with. Crazy.
Very, very cool.
And that closes the book on Jon's connections and this craziness. I haven't done that in a while. That was fun.
No, you haven't. You haven't had the 6 degrees of Jon.
We've talked about the state of the podcast, what's changing, and what we look forward to do to keep it fresh for us. And 3 years in, I would say, Wendy, we have certainly grown and morphed more than we would have ever thought we would have.
Oh, yeah.
This year, we're putting focus on it ourselves intentionally. I think maybe that's the key.
We found our groove. We found what we enjoyed, and we have to evolve. We can't just keep churning out the same stuff over and over again. So it's time, and I think it's going to be great.
For those that have made it this far that have never heard us before, which I can't imagine, but again, every podcast is somebody's first. If someone is not connected with you out there, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Best way is on my blog, mydailyjourney.com. Daily D as in dog, AILEY. And of course, second and fourth Sunday of each month, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You will find me on Twitter as part of our twice monthly Twitter chat. How about you, Jon?
Once again, I want to thank Humoriso for sponsoring this episode. And as for me, JonThurman.com for all things Jon Thurman. And for the show, hrsocialhourpodcast.podbean.com. Listen and share. That's all we ask. You can review if you'd like. That's great. Listening and then particularly sharing it with somebody else, showing them all this cool new stuff we're going to be doing, we'd appreciate. International listeners, we want you to be part of these changes. We have some fun things planned for the next few months, which I cannot wait to share some of these things, but we're just not there yet. We're not there yet. However, if you want to be part of our conversation, which we hope you will, get in touch and let's talk more. Wendy, it was great to catch up. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did it. And so for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm Jon.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network. Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon.